We've all had bottles we've bought that we didn't necessarily love. This video, we're going to talk about 5 bottles that I own that I would not buy again. So we've all bought bottles, we've all been excited, we've all opened them and quickly become disappointed or even upset in how they taste. It gets even worse when those bottles happen to be expensive bottles. I'm going to walk you through 5 bottles that I own that I would recommend you not get, as I also would not buy them again. So, first, let's get into it. First bottle on this list is Castle and Key small batch. This is batch 5. So I've heard other batches are good. I've heard that I think batch 4 is really good, and I think maybe batch 1 is really good. But this bottle is downright rancid. The first time I opened it, it smelled like stink bugs. Transferring that to the palate, and it also tasted like stink bugs. I've given this to several buddies, and it's been a drain pour ever since. I only keep it on the shelf because the bottle looks cool. This stuff is absolutely unbearable. You could not pay me to drink this stuff. You can put it in an old fashioned, it ruins the old fashioned. I think it's just this batch, but it's ruined Castle and Key for me in general. I would never buy another Castle and Key product. So that's number 1. So let's get into number 2. This is a smaller distillery, Town Branch. I think it's actually distilled at Lexington Distilling Company. This is actually batch 1 of their cask strength, and this is also just unbearable. From the moment I opened it, it just has this lingering sort of like stinky, stale taste to it that just kills your palate. You can put it in an old fashioned, it ruins the old fashioned too. It has this very unique kind of just rancid flavor is the only way I know how to describe it. I know I said that about the Castle and Key, but this thing is just hard to drink. It's gotten a little better over time. I've had this bottle for probably 2 years, and the first 75% of this bottle was absolutely horrible. I tried to give it away with old fashions, but it's definitely not as bad now. Suffice to say, I would still never buy this bottle or another Town Branch bottle again. Let me know if you have any experience with Town Branch and if you like the distillery or if you also had a bad experience with them. That's number 2. All right, these next 3 are probably going to surprise y'all, so let's just get into number 3. Handcock's Reserve. So this bottle, it really isn't horrible. It tastes like any, low-proof Buffalo Trace product. The thing that really turns me off is the fact that this is like a $90 bottle. I think at Total Wine, they're going for about $90 now, and I think it's only 88.9 proof. For me, there's just not enough going on in this bottle to ever warrant buying it again. I think it's a pretty cool bottle, so it looks decent on the shelf, but just personally, I would never buy this bottle again. Keep that in mind. I think Buffalo Trace does the same trick for, a fourth of the price. I think Blanton's is even better. Blanton's is probably a little harder to get than this stuff, but I think Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare, sort of that same line, and then I would say Bowman Single Barrel, which is 100 proof, but it's a similar flavor profile, and I think those all do the same trick for much less money. I would highly recommend those 3 or 4 bottles over this. If you really like low proof stuff, I would recommend it, but I don't love it. I don't think it stands up well in any cocktails. It's just really low proof, not very complex. That's number 3. So number 4, I know this specific bottle, this offering from Jeffersons has gotten some hate on different batches, so this might not be a surprise, but this is Voyage 24 Ocean Aged at Sea, and this was actually the second bottle of bourbon I ever bought. So it's actually a miracle that I even made it this far in bourbon, because the first 2 bottles I got were Basil Hayden, which I did not like. It was 80 proof. It was just not very good. And then this was number 2, and this stuff is horrible. It has nothing. It smells like ethanol. It tastes like ethanol. There is no bourbon notes to it. There is nothing. Like, on the palate, it is just dead. It's boring to drink. It doesn't do anything in a cocktail. It's also, like the last one, about an $85 bottle. So this one is really rough on the wallet, and it's also really rough on the palate. So that's kind of been the trend with some of these bottles, is they cost a lot of money and they suck. So personally, I would probably never buy this again. I know I've heard some good things about some of the cask strengths, and I think the Rise from Jeffersons, but the Ocean Age at Sea series, for me, it's just way too much money. I think it's a marketing gimmick, and the bottles aren't even that cool. You can probably see it on camera, the whiskey's really light, and that kind of transfers to the palate. There's nothing going on. I would stay away from these bottles. So last on the list is going to come at a little bit of a surprise to you, but I think it maybe have just been my bottle, but let's just get it on the table. So the last bottle on my list of bottles that I would not buy again is actually the Green River Wheated. I think it's 90 proof. The Green River Wheated 90 proof. And I have a theory. I think the reason that I didn't like this is because the cork, it just isn't sealed. If you turn the bottle upside down, it leaks out. So I think what happened is, I think this oxidized inside the bottle before it even got to me. And it just killed all the flavor. It killed any depth to it. It's not really good. As you could probably expect, a bottle that's oxidized before it got to me probably isn't going to have a lot going on. But I spent like $40 on this bottle, and you have an experience like that with Green River, and I'm likely to not revisit that distillery. So I know that Green River is really good, but I have never bought a bottle where the cork didn't fit. So this to me is just a quality control issue. I know it might not be Green River's fault, but you spend $40 on a product and you want to at least enjoy it, and this just was not enjoyable at all for me. It's essentially a drain pour. I'm just counting down the days. So those were my 5 bottles that I will not be buying again. There was a 6th one that didn't make the list, but I would say is pretty close to being on that list, and the honorable mention would be Blanton's Gold. So I know that's a surprise, but that's another Buffalo Trace product that it really does not live up to the price point. I know there's several other Buffalo Trace products that do not live up to that price point, but Blanton's Gold, for me, it's got a lot of hype behind it, but for the secondary price of around $250, I think there's much better options, and I would stay away from Blanton's Gold. So those are my 5 or 6 bottles that I do not like, bottles that I've had a bad experience with and would not buy again. So let me know in the comments, what bottles do you have that you would not buy again, bottles that maybe you hate? And then maybe go in the comments and tell me what bottles that I say I wouldn't buy again on this list that you actually love. So let's have a little discussion about it in the comments. Thank y'all so much for watching. As always, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.